Hello, good morning, party people. Welcome to another fun, exciting week of SJU. Lot happening today. My Superman is black, my Paramount is plus, and my globes are golden.
Do you need to see a doctor for that last one? I don't know.
it's terminal. You guys, a lot happened. We could talk about the globes that happened last night, and we will. But something else happened last week. There was a seemingly even bigger deal that we didn't get to cover. There's a new Superman on the way. Oh, and I should introduce my companions, Danielle and Eric. Thank you for joining me. Before we get too excited, we've got new soups, and when there's new soups, we talk about it. And it's not just new soups; it's who's making that. And it turns out it's he's probably won a Pulitzer. I don't know. I'm making that up, but he's acclaimed essayist, novelist, and comic book writer, Ta-Nehisi Coates. He is going to write our next Superman movie that will be produced by J.J. Abrams. This is breaking news via The Hollywood Reporter. That's a boring quote. Blah, blah, blah. The point is, J.J. Abrams is producing, and according to unnamed sources, is being set up as a Black Superman story. If you guys remember, Michael B. Jordan, there were rumors of him being cast as Superman back when he signed a deal with Warner Bros., but clearly that didn't get made, or at least not yet, but it's possible it could return to him. But let's get some fast and quick and dirty reactions. What do you guys think when you first heard that a J.J. Abrams produced, Ta-Nehisi Coates written Black Superman film? Give me your reactions. Go.
Excited. Danielle, you go.
Yeah, sounds dope. I'm into it.
That's free of controversy.
No, he's first of all just a great writer who has a big geeky background as well. He's written Black Panther and Captain America comics for Marvel. This is his first, I think, official time writing a DC character, but he obviously has the background with that world. So I would be excited no matter what. And I think, it's also interesting to see Abrams producing, because we know Abrams has this huge overall deal with Warner Media. We know he's producing stuff for HBO Max, and now we're seeing, okay, he's going to be taking a bigger part in the DC stuff going forward. He once wrote a Superman movie that didn't happen, so it's kind of him returning to that realm. So the two of them, that sounds cool to me. And then a Black Superman, I'm like, yeah, there's been so many versions of Superman, and the fact that this announcement came 2 days after the new Superman TV show debuted, it's just like, there's a lot of Superman. We can have a lot of different interpretations of Superman. We already do. And so I think, yeah, of course, like, why not? Let's mix this up. And there are things they could pull from the comics if they wanted to make a specific character, but there's also just hey, the Superman we know and love, but this version is black because there's no reason a Kryptonian can't be. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, Danielle?
Yeah, exactly. We have so many Supermans now. You could play a version of Guess Who with just like different Supermans, like, is this one the edgy one? Is this one? So there's tons of, I would say that there are literal hundreds of hours of some kind of Superman, no matter what you want. So yeah, give us a black one. Take my black money. They know that we're all going to line up for it. They know that, like, when movie theaters come back, we'll be buying out theaters so that little children can see themselves as Superman. They already know what we're going to do. They watched it with Black Panther and they were like, how can we get some black money? And they chose correctly. This is how you get my black dollars. Do
The
it.
money is black dollars, also legal tender, legal currency.
Yeah.
The exchange rate is 1-to-1. Now, do you have a preference if you would like to see a new character take on the Superman mantle, or if you'd like it to be the Kal-El origin story retold as from a Black American?
Just do Kal-El again. I don't care.
Okay.
I know there's like Val-El and there are a couple of different ones, but I guess I'm also curious about just like how it would fit into this universe, or what universe it's going to fit into, before I would really know which one I would prefer. I would love to see a new story, but I do like Kal-El, and just like, I want to see a corny black dude, because Kal-El is super corny. That's like, Superman is super corny. So I think I could get down with, just like Michael B. Jordan or whoever it winds up being, just being really obsessed with milking his mom. I think that could be really,
but not in a creepy way.
not in a creepy way. Just like, he's a boy and he's a Boy Scout. I want to see
Corn
Black
fed.
Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think why not Kal-El? Yeah, there's in the comic books there's been a couple of different sort of alternate reality Black Superman. There's Val-Zod and then Calvin Ellis, I believe. The Val-Zod character is more interesting, but at the end of the day, why not just do Kal-El? Especially because they're doing this Flash movie that's clearly going to be much more like, hey, acknowledge the multiverse. And look, we have two Batmans in the same movie to acknowledge we've been doing this for a while. So why not? I think, we'll probably get a lot of characters, popping up in that movie to establish for other movies. We're having multiple big screen Batman. We're having so many different versions. I don't see why you can't just make it Kal-El. It's an interesting thing with comic book fans. I was talking to someone about this recently. It's like people who read novels versus comics. I understand it's a visual medium and that's why, but they get way more race obsessed. Like, he's been white in the comics. But again, Kryptonian, there's nothing in that character that's like, oh, he has to be this. Why not a different version? And I think because the Superman myth is such a classic myth, and, the crash landing and, being taken in by the Kents, just let's change it up.
Yeah, I mean, you speak to Kryptonian DNA or whatever. Even if they made it very explicit that Kryptonians can only be white for some reason, you could also just make a black Kryptonian because it's not real. It's art. You can make it up.
Krypton doesn't exist, guys. I don't want to really disappoint anyone, but
and look, by the way, it might be a bad movie. DC's been known to make some duds before, and that's fine. We can go back. We can go back to making other Superman stories. But and I don't know how much we're just like amplifying a small but very vocal, angry, racist cadre of people on Twitter. But it's like, when they announce something like this, and before seeing really any details about it, aside from Ta-Nehisi Coates writing it, you freak out and say like, this is going to be bad. This is ruining Superman and stuff like that. It's not a good look for you, obviously, but it's also not a good look for these studios to take risks and to try different things. This is how you get the same movie told over and over and over again. So come on, even if you're not on board, which is dumb because you know nothing about it yet, you should at least keep an open mind until we learn more. That's my position, at least.
Look, like Warner Brothers DC also can point, because this is right on the heels of they also hired a Latina actress to play Supergirl in the Flash movie, which had some of that ugly internet stuff. But again, we might be amplifying the small group of people. But at the same time, I'm like, look at Aquaman, guys. You know who's blonde and white in the comics is not in the movies and who made $1 billion? Aquaman, who's had a bigger hit movie than any Superman movie in a while. So yeah, it's just, again, there's that early, this is going to be the worst reaction, which we get for a million reasons, sometimes race-based, sometimes just I'm angry until proven otherwise. But I think that you can see sometimes the proof in the pudding when, like, the Aquaman movie makes $1 billion and at the end of the day, it does not matter that he's not a white blonde guy. They'll be okay. And
Prince of Poo-Poo brings up in the comments, he thinks the idea is cool, but he's a bit overwhelmed at all of these different interpretations at once. Mm-hmm. And hasn't that just been kind of the MO for a while now for the DCEU? Is like, there's a lot going on at the same time. And I think it shines. It's the best when they do make just kind of standalone stories that work on their own. For me, Joker, Harley Quinn, Shazam, these don't require a lot of setup and interconnectedness to pull off. So I guess I'm not as concerned about that. But do you guys share are you worried about them muddling the continuity of DC movies?
Well, no, and it's just going back to agreeing with what Eric said earlier. We know that they're going to start getting into a multiverse. And I think that's the kind of thing when I was growing up as a young lass, dreaming that I would, like, this would be the day that comes that all my comic books come to life in front of me. I never would have thought that we'd be able to do a multiverse anything, because there's so much setting up that you have to do just to get people like on that point. And that's not like saying for DC or Marvel. I just mean for comic book stuff in general. The multiverse is weird and complicated and it confuses people. And so the fact that we're actually at a point now with these stories that we can tell stories like that is pretty cool too. And so I'm not too worried. I think that people can get, they even had the Flash go on the DCEU Flash. They had them go on Crisis on Infinite Earths. So I think it's possible. I think people get it. And this one is the easiest one because you don't have to do a lot of explaining of like, oh, this is the one that, this is the one where they both said Martha, or this is the one that's on TV. Just say the black one. Easy peasy, done.
Yeah, the only thing to me is sometimes I feel like maybe they should space it out a little more. There was a deja vu for a lot of us entertainment journos when this story came out like 2 days after Superman and Lois debuted, only because in 2013 or 14, when the Flash TV show premiered to really good ratings, like 5 days later, we found out there was a Flash movie that had nothing to do with it premiering. So there's this strange thing of DC of almost being like, okay, we just debuted something. Here's the next thing. And sometimes you're like, don't you want to like kind of celebrate the success a little more before moving on? But at the end of the day, you know, it's not like this movie's coming out next week. It's going to take a couple of years to make it. And we see that not only can we handle the multiverse, but also just obviously things can be successes in different mediums. And there's, you know, multiple Flashes and Superman and Batmans and Harley Quinns right now. And they all, you know, have different levels of successes. But I think, yeah, people are able to handle it more and more in the mainstream. Comic book readers, we were always used to it. And now I think more and more the mainstream's getting used to like, that's like you said, Danielle, it's like that version, I get it.
But speaking of moving on, what is to be done about poor Henry Cavill? I'm so worried about him with his millions and his rock hard abs and his handsome face. But please pour one out for Henry Cavill. Or do we think that we will see him again in a big screen Superman project, or does this signal the end?
It kind of feels like the end to me. I think we might wind up seeing him in like The Flash or something, or I think that
there are some reports of him like being a kind of like a supporting character going into the future was kind of the idea that we got from what's been out there news-wise.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be more that he's just going to come, do some support, be Henry Cavill, and then take his check and oops on out. I wouldn't have mind seeing one more movie with him. I was not a big fan of Man of Steel, so but, you know, that's the movie for other people. It's not the one for me. It's not my Superman. Soon my Superman will be black. So I think that this is it. I think he's just going to kind of pop up in different areas.
That's a shame, yeah, because I like Man of Steel relatively to the other appearances, and I thought that he really did such a great job. The material never rose to the caliber of his performance. So it's sad. As sad as a multimillionaire, super handsome, still very much
genetically gifted.
Genetically gifted.
I feel the same. Like I didn't love the movies he was in, even though I thought he was very well cast and he did a very good job in them. And I do wish he'd kind of gotten a great Superman movie. That being said, it's like I'm okay to move on, but I also think now more than ever, you never say never in this thing, as we're seeing with both Marvel and DC and pulling from the past. Even if we didn't know those rumors that Ryan just mentioned, I still be like, he'll probably pop up again at some point. So I think it's okay to move on as like who is the main cinematic Superman, but I also, you know, he'll probably put that costume on again one day at some point.
It seems like they want him to be Black Adam, or that's what's been you know, like Rock, you know, so it's around there. I think he'll be kind of used like the Hulk in the MCU kind of way, but what they do with it.
Yeah, I'm into that. A little third act Cavill never hurt nobody. Okay, so speaking of moving on again, we have a lot of stuff to cover. So I will pause briefly to thank you for watching, and please keep watching because we've got a lot more coming. Subscribe to the channel. We got more videos every weekday. Hit that like and hit that bell so you never miss a thing. Segment 2, we bring you a lot of news at the same time.
We're all just gonna say one thing at the same time. Let's do it.
Go. First up is Paramount Plus joining the plus-filled ranks of streaming services. Everyone gets a plus. We were there first, or close to it. Paramount Plus, aka the artist formerly known as CBS All Access, is launching on March 4th. That's pretty soon. And they have a big announcement of all the content, capital C content, they're going to drop onto there. It includes all of the brands, the CBS, the MTV, the BET, the Comedy Central, the Nickelodeon, the Paramount Network, and the Paramount Pictures movie studio. There's going to be a library of 30,000 episodes, 2,500 movies, 36 original series. Among those originals, Frasier's back, baby. You hear the blues calling? It's Frasier. He's bringing his tossed salad. He's scrambling his eggs. He's making bon mots at the news of the day. I can't wait for that. They're making a CG, probably creepy Rugrats update. I'm not. No, thank you. They're doing Reno 911. Great. I'm glad they're still working after
the death of Quibi.
After Quibi was taken out behind the shed. A new Beavis and Butthead movie. Now, I feel like Beavis and Butthead Do America is one of my favorite films, but I also haven't rewatched it since 2003, and maybe it's not anymore. We'll see. And speaking of movies, there's going to be big screen Paramount movies coming out like 45 days after they come into theaters. So Quiet Place Part 2 will get that a month and change after. Mission Impossible 7 will get that same distance. So that's pretty sweet. But what do you guys think? Is that enough to make Paramount Plus a contender in the streaming wars?
Oh God, who even knows anymore? It's like they're all in the pit, and I'm like, which one's the smaller guy? But are they small and scrappy? Because for me, I'm not gonna lie, when you say that they have BET on there, and I know that BET has the most wacky original biofilms, that's gonna be like you know how when some people like they'll get cable just so they can have like one thing that they, Wonder Woman's gonna be on Max. I'm gonna get Max for a month. I will get Paramount just every time they have another crazy. You want to give me another Whitney Bobby movie?
Yeah, I was gonna say, you want to watch a Bobby Brown doc? Which one?
Yes, I do. I do want to watch that. But the rest of it looks good. Reno 911 is great. They have a lot of great properties and legacy stuff that they can pull from. It's just I don't know if that's going to be enough. Again, they're a little small, but they're mighty. So we'll find out.
Yeah, it feels like when they launch, they're not, again, they don't have The Mandalorian. Only Disney Plus has pulled that off. HBO Max had the same problem of not launching with anything huge. We forgot to put in the notes, but Halo, they yoinked that from Showtime, CBS Viacom sister thing. Like, oh, no, that's ours now, which is obviously going to be a big deal when it debuts, but it won't be there when they launch. They're the home of Trek, which is, a big deal. It's just that Paramount doesn't have like the mega franchises. And I was like, okay, well, they've got Transformers, which, say what you will, most of those movies made $1 billion. And they have Mission Impossible, which are great. But it's not like they announced a show for either of those, even though I feel like a Mission Impossible TV show, guess what? That's how it started.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Probably inevitable, but it's not. They had no announcement. In fact, it's
just Ving Rhames in a series of vans. It's like Nomadland, but with Ving Rhames.
The weirdest funny thing, I tweeted while they were doing their announcements, Jeremy Renner, maybe you'll have a Paramount Plus show too. Where's the Brandt show? And then they announced the Jeremy Renner show, but it wasn't the Mission Impossible show. But they'll probably get there. So it's a lot of stuff, and we shouldn't count out the fact that they made that big deal with Epix to basically stream thousands of movies, which is the same kind of deal Netflix had years ago. That gave them a lot of good library catalog they don't have anymore as far as like big studio movies. So there's a lot of stuff there. I just don't think they have that Marvel Studios or Lucasfilm thing to bring people all at once. It'll maybe be like a more little thing, and then we'll see if like a Halo or something really pops for them. But that's going to be down the line.
Do we have any sorry, Ryan, do we have any pricing on this, or is it just the same as CBS All Access?
There was. I definitely should have included that. Let me get that. Hold on.
I can tell you. It's slightly cheaper. It's $4.99 versus $5.99 for the version with ads. Without ads, same price, $9.99.
Okay, I'm on board with that. I think that that's half the price of Netflix or HD Netflix or whatever. Yeah, I mean, the thing about things with big libraries is like it's usually good. It's from the before times when like shows had to be good enough to hold your attention on TV or be released in a movie theater. When like 9 things out of 10 on Netflix right now are like, here's what the algorithm decided that you want to watch. It's like Tud Fudley plays chess during a home renovation. Like there's so much garbage on Netflix right now that being able to go back and unlock this huge library of content, I think to me, for half the price is more appealing. I'll probably get this. Yeah. Cause like, you called Viacom the little guy. I mean, they're the 800-pound gorilla back in the day of cable TV. Like they have between CBS, MTV, BET, Comedy Central, and Nickelodeon. Those have all been like on their weird. They have their own weird little apps that you have to pay for these days. And I'm always like, well, I guess I just won't watch it. So to have this all together is actually, I don't know, it's intriguing. I think that obviously there are too many streaming services, but I think Paramount Plus could knock out, not an HBO Max for me, but it could go like head to head with a Hulu or something like that.
I had a question, Spencer, because Peacock is the other one that's being.
Oh, no one's watching Peacock. No.
It's direct. It's kind of its closest direct competitor because Universal is also like a legacy studio, and a big thing with both of those studios is that like live TV news and sports is a big part of the pitch. Those are the two that are like theoretically that's a big selling point. Do you guys think that over time that's a way to maybe get like older non Netflix HBO Max savvy viewers is maybe because it's kind of like an in between cable and the new streaming? Because like I got CBS All Access when I wanted to watch like the Super Bowl. Like, do you think over time that could be something that could help those two specifically?
Yeah, that's useful because I've definitely signed up for trials of Peacock and CBS All Access when I wanted to watch something live and then canceled. Yeah, yeah, that's a plus.
Also, I think a Paramount Plus. Also, I think, and this could be a whole other conversation we can have at some point, but I will say that 45 days after feels like kind of the best compromise I've heard with all this sort of pandemic changing of like the closing the window and, Universal changing it to 17 days later, they can release it, and HBO Max just saying, screw it, we're going to put everything on the same day. For theaters to survive in the long term after the pandemic, the 45 days later sounds like the most fair. It's half of the 90 days we used to have, but it gives theaters a few weeks to like play them. And then you just know, okay, if I don't want to rush out, I can see it in a few weeks on Paramount Plus. So that kind of sounds like that might be the future for a lot of these big movies.
Yeah, I could get into that. So another thing, I guess this is coming to Paramount Plus, right? Is that Nickelodeon is launching
like a second part of the same story, but
Avatar the Studio, Avatar the Last Studio. So they're actually going to dedicate an entire studio of Nickelodeon to cram your gaping maw full of Avatar stuff. Because if you liked a little bit of Avatar, how about a lot of Avatar? I guess it's like, come on, like how are they not doing this already? It was one of the most hugely popular things for them as it aired and when it came on Netflix. So they're going to develop content for platforms including Paramount Plus and Nickelodeon, as well as third-party platforms and theatrical releases. Okay, so it'll be kind of all over the place as far as where to catch it, but they're going to create, their first project is an animated theatrical Avatar film set to start production later this year. Well, I guess first question that Ryan had is this bad news for the live-action Avatar series that the creators completely disavowed and walked away from? More bad news?
Yeah, I definitely, it just coming off the heels of it, it doesn't sound good. It doesn't sound like something we'd like, that I've already seen so many people talk about how like, they're not at all excited for, the live action one now that they've left. And now that they've left and they're like taking their ball and going home, definitely less so. Yeah.
It's just so weird.
So much that they're making like 7 projects. I just want to say like they're making so much stuff now.
Yeah. It's just so weird, right? Because it's like Airbender and Korra coming to Netflix gave them this huge new influx of fandom, no pun intended, and more popular than ever before. But then right then the relationship with the creators torpedoed on this live action version. So now it's like Netflix has a big kind of PR thing to get past of the fact that these guys publicly walked. And meanwhile, they're like, okay, we're going to go back and make all these new animated things again, which would only have happened. It's like Netflix caused that to happen, but now the Netflix relationship soured. So it's going to be very tricky for that show. They're going to have to just overcome the fact that all the fan base knows that they walked, and it better look damn good. Because meanwhile, it's like we're going to get more Airbender than we've had in many, many years because of Netflix. It's just Netflix won't get the benefit from all these new shows.
Someone wrote in the comments, the little toe, will Netflix intentionally sabotage the live action now? I mean, I hope so, because if they give us a film on par with Shyamalan's Last Airbender, I mean, that's comedy gold right there. I want the whole thing to be as poorly lit and weirdly paced as that. I think it's an Avatar movie tradition at this point. So yeah, I mean, I'm psyched for it. I think that I hope that this studio is largely bringing back not just the creators, but also the artists and animators, because that to me is the appeal of the show to me is the look of it too. So I hope that everybody can either come back or recreate what made it so bright and vibrant and full of fun that it was in the first place.
I don't think they're going to get that Dave Filoni guy back to direct, unfortunately.
He's
a little busy.
He's free in 2029.
Sure.
So we have we put up a thing on social on the feeds that was asking people, what's your future preferred Avatar project? Would you rather see Them All Grows Up, a Legend of Korra sequel, or an adaptation of the comics, which I imagine filled in the blanks of the original series? Brand new story, brand new Avatar, or a prequel.
Right after the show is the comics tell basically how that city in Korra comes to be over the course. It's like a couple seasons right after the timeline of the show.
Yeah, a little tweener right there. Or do you want a Avatar of the past, an Avatar of the future? What's your preference?
I want a brand new show in the future, just like they did with Korra. Like, that's really what I want. I want to meet, I mean, they can be there and be like old and stuff, but like, I want to see how the world has changed again. I want to meet new characters. For me, that's the fun part, is getting to meet the new avatar, and getting to know like what their struggle is going to be, and like how all of this affects them. So yeah, I definitely want brand new characters, and a brand new world to get to know, because that's so much of the pleasure of the series.
Yeah, I'm similar. I think I'm the only one of the three of us who did a show a few weeks ago. We were talking about this in a much more ethereal, what if this happens way. But yeah, I think that is the best approach. I always loved that Airbender was like vaguely kind of like, even though it takes place in a mythical world, like if Airbender was like the 1880s, then Korra was like the 1920s. And I really liked how they like furthered the technology and how the world was progressing. And I think that'd be great. I think we talked about like, what if it was like the equivalent of the Airbender verse 1950s or 60s or something like that. There's a lot of ways you can go with it. Honestly, it makes me think of the Star Wars sequels. But if you thought they were, if done right, as far as let's have brand new characters, because Korra jumped so far ahead that everyone was either super old or dead. Maybe it doesn't have to jump that far ahead, but I do think, let new characters shine. I think, of course, I'm guessing this movie is going to be about like the characters we know, and there's room for that. But I think that kind of the appeal of the franchise is that they've created an amazing world. So let's keep exploring that.
Yeah, I think distant past or future. I mean, you have the franchise reboot built into the lore. It's like Doctor Who in a way. Like you have this reincarnating being. So just keep following that from lifetime to lifetime. I think that's definitely the most interesting way to go with it. Mm-hmm. Speaking of less interesting things, the Golden Globes were last night. As is tradition, I sort of half watched them. I think I watched an episode of The OC in the middle of it. And man, I
never go wrong with The OC. Never go wrong with The OC.
So much drama. But I tuned in sporadically to the Golden Globes. So just a quick recap. Nomadland won Best Picture. Chloe Zhao won Best Director, which is awesome. Borat 2, Best Musical and Comedy, and Sacha Baron Cohen with Best Actor in that same category. Chadwick Boseman posthumously for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Anna Taylor-Joy won for Queen's Gambit. Overall, I would say it was very awkward. and I'm glad
I didn't see it, but my God, I was reading about some of the technical things, and yikes.
Yeah, it's nice to know that even with a big budget and full-time dedicated professionals, more so than just Ryan and William, that they still can't pull off a comfortable, natural-seeming Zoom conversation or award show. So that was nice. Jason Sudeikis being either incredibly high or just woken up in the middle of the night
They said
London.
It was 2:30 in the morning for him.
That tracks. Just having very stoned, up late / divorced guy energy. It was, and I encourage everyone to watch the post-award interview that the Golden Globes YouTube page posted, where they made him talk for a further 7 minutes to an entertainment journalist, and he's just
like, "It's 3 a.m. Can I sleep?"
Yeah. It's really good stuff. But anything stand out to you guys about the event?
It was really nice when Audra Day got her win and Regina King came in and they did that like hug in one of the post interviews. I like little moments like that. And yeah, I guess this is, we didn't get the usual drunk actress falls we usually get at the Golden Globes. Like, we just had to deal with everybody trying to do it over Zoom, like they're hanging out with their parents. But I thought that was a really, really nice moment.
Yeah, it's a weird year, of course, because we didn't get as many things being released, and even more than ever, it's like it was a very sort of like indie movie vibe to it, which is cool. Like, look, I love Nomadland. I'm happy to see it getting more attention. Chadwick Boseman, of course, it was, his wife, so heartfelt, giving that speech. So, I was happy about that. It was, it's in the midst of it being like, oh, the Golden Globes have always kind of been like a weird awards show anyway. And then they had all these, again, I didn't watch it live. Then I started watching some of the clips and some of the technical snafus. I was just like, whoa, that's a lot. But I guess usually the Golden Globes are entertaining because everyone's getting drunk together at those big round tables. So I guess this year you watched it for a different train wreck thing with the tech stuff. But yeah, it was an odd one.
Yeah, I mean, they're a bit of a joke, but I mean, they're one that there's still ones that we cover, and I'm not sure why. But there was the Hollywood Foreign Press is not without its recent scandals. I mean, one that I read about 2-3 weeks ago was about them flying out the 30 plus members of the Hollywood Foreign Press to Paris for an all expense paid Paris vacation, and then lo and behold, this is for the show Emily in Paris, and lo and behold, it gets nominated. That takes some of the mystery out of why are these random things nominated for Golden Globes? It's so random. Much less Denzel Washington's speech, where he said famously, like, I never won one of these, and then someone told me I have to go to lunch with these weirdos, and I went to lunch, and now I won. So I guess that's the lesson, is go to lunch with these, because it is like, what, 80, 90 people total of journalists. And then another story in the LA Times about how they have 0 Black people in it. Though, Eric, did you read that article?
So the one I read in the LA Times was kind of the big expose that you referenced, Spencer, because you probably read at least one story sourcing it, which was about just going deep on all the controversy over the years, the mystery about them, the fact that it seems like, it's you definitely can curry favor with them, and that they want it. Like, this article said that they basically have people go, oh, this wasn't a very fancy event. Like, if they have an event, it doesn't seem up to their standards of what an event should be. And flying all those people to Paris, and just weird things getting nominated, and this goes back decades, but I kind of dug into that, about times that they got, I didn't even know there were times they got like yanked off TV for different controversies, because it felt like a very iffy process for what got nominated and why. And then on top of that, you got people saying, this is like the least diverse group of people. And it was weird. Last night I saw that it's like they tried to address it a little bit, and Sacha Baron Cohen made a funny joke about thank you to the all white members of the Hollywood Foreign Press or something when he won. But it was a strange thing, because like you said, it's like we all cover it and all the celebrities do still participate in it, but it all seems like a weird thing that everyone's stuck in, because everyone acknowledges that this is not a group that you should really hold up to high esteem, and that this award doesn't really mean anything in the way the Oscars do. And yet, I don't know, we're trapped in a time loop because then we can get out of it.
It feels very much, and I'm sorry, Spencer, I'm going to lose you for a second. Like when you're getting ready for WrestleMania and they call it the road to WrestleMania, and there are like a few, that's right. And there are a few pay-per-views that you watch because it's on the road. There's like Fastlane, and it's like, who cares? That's what this feels like. It feels like we're like, these awards are like, we're on the road to the Oscars. And so we just kind of do we're so used to that. We just kind of like do all of the little awards that come right before then.
Yeah, it just seems like this one in particular, there is, and I guess it is real. What's real is the whole momentum thing, and the idea that the Oscars now are in this almost wake where people are like, oh, well, that won at the Golden Globes, even though logically you might think that shouldn't be important, but it still kind of adds to you feeling like that's a deserving movie. Look at the things it's winning, including the Golden Globes, which is usually a big flashy show with all the celebrities, which kind of helps you get attention from movies and TV. So it's like a strange ecosystem unto itself, but like you said, Danielle, it's kind of fed into this whole like the road to Oscar mania along the way.
Well, I definitely respect the grift that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has managed to pull off so far.
Right?
Just a few critics in Europe said, like, sorry for the French accent, but, if we did an award, then we could maybe meet Brigitte Bardot. Actually, bad example, she's French. Marilyn Monroe. and then the world we have today. What a time to be alive. Okay, let's transition into something even more fun. There's a movie coming out called Chaos Walking that actually sounds pretty awesome. Doug Liman directed, sci-fi, based on a cool sci-fi novel, starring Daisy Ridley, Tom Holland, Mads Mikkelsen, Cynthia Erivo, Nick Jonas, David. I'm not even gonna attempt that one. Tell me about it, Eric. You sat down with Daisy?
I did. I talked to Daisy Ridley, and I talked to Patrick Ness, who wrote the novel and also was one of the screenwriters of the movie. We talked, this movie has like an interesting high concept as far as like a planet where all the men, you can hear or see their thoughts. So we talked about that and kind of the horrific implications of that, and making the movie. And then I did, of course, I had to ask Daisy a little bit of Star Wars got in there, and we talked about some Force healing, Rey and Grogu comparisons, and the fact that in this movie, I noticed that her character was raised on a spaceship and it rains for the first time, and she puts her hand out and feels it. And I'd seen Daisy Ridley do that one other time in a movie called The Last Jedi. So we talked a little bit about that too, as being an interesting recurring theme in her work.
Okay, and we have that ready to play today?
Yes.
Then let's do it. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching SJU. Bye-bye.
Oh my gosh, girl. I'm sorry.
No blonde hair.
I've just never
seen a girl before. Who are you?
A few minutes into this story, and you quickly see really just how terrible it would be to live through this scenario. While I wouldn't describe this as a horror movie per se, was interesting for you to sort of explore that, just how evasive it would be to constantly have your thoughts on display like this.
I think the thought of seeing other people's thoughts is horrifying to me. I like that it takes a while to get to know people. I like that people choose what they tell people, how it is they present themselves. Like, that's what it is to be human, to form relationships. So I'm very happy that this does not exist for real.
That's where the original idea started, was just how social media expects us to share everything. And to me, the next logical question was, well, what if we had no choice? What if you had to? And what a complete nightmare that would be, because we are filtered beings, and that's a good thing for us because we can think awful things without having to say them. And if you saw people's unexpurgated thoughts, I think friendships would suffer. I think relationships would suffer. Yeah, so I'm just asking the question about social media, about finding your boundary, finding your border of where your privacy behind it lies. It'd be a nightmare if it were true.
It's so loud here.
We call it the noise. Happens to all the men on this planet. Every thought in our heads, we're on display.
You know, Tom's character, Todd, he literally, because of this, he can't be completely guarded. And Viola, your character, understandably, is very on guard and wary of him. So spending so much time with Tom filming this movie, what was it like kind of establishing that dynamic, the very specific dynamic the two of you have here?
To add to the mix of all of that, we had Doug Liman literally screaming at us from behind the camera what the noise was.
Right.
So it was quite interesting because literally every scene was physically, like audibly so loud because Doug was doing it. So it's a funny thing to be reacting to the actual subtext rather than like reading the character that you're playing opposite. There were obviously moments in the film where you do feel why that this would drive people crazy, but also the reason that Todd and Viola really are so sweet together is they choose to be okay with it. Like, they make a choice to be like, okay, we communicate differently, and yes, it's a little bit difficult, like finding our feet with all of this, but they care more about being friends than any difficulties that might arise with the noise.
I mean, I don't know, you might not like my dog, or you want to hit me over the head with a rock or something. I like your dog.
You know, having had these characters in your head for so long, what's it like seeing Tom and Daisy portray them on screen?
It is amazing. I'm not one of those authors who a movie role will then erase the character in the book for me. So I've still got my Todd and my Viola in my head, but they are so great in it. The charisma of both of them and the chemistry in between them, I think, works really well. And, you know, we cast them and then they became stratospheric. You know,
Yeah.
So somehow I've got, you know, two biggest franchise people in the world in my movie, which is insane. So you're going to hear zero complaints from me.
Where are all the women?
They're dead.
So Daisy, I think you have to be unique among actors. I could be wrong here, but I think you must be the only one who's played two characters who grew up in a specific environment and space, experienced rain for the first time, and hold your hand out to feel it. Is this?
Oh my God, so true. Nice. Yeah.
Will you go for a trifecta at some point?
Oh my God, that's so funny. For the next few years, I'm going to say to my agent, Hilda, please, we're looking for something with a specific scene in the rain. I've never felt the rain before. Let's make it happen. There's a trilogy.
If you want to protect the girl, you have to leave now.
Safe, keep you safe, keep you safe.
You watched The Mandalorian, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I also realized you have a special bond with everyone's favorite Baby Yoda, Grogu, in that I think you're the only two characters we've seen in live action that have force-healed people. When you saw Grogu do that, did you think, hey, you're taking my thing? Or did you say, okay, we're bonded?
I mean, here's the thing, right? Baby Yoda, obviously immensely powerful, but also Baby Yoda is almost cheating because Baby Yoda is so sweet that like whatever Baby Yoda did, you'd be like, no. Whereas I'm like a human, so I don't have that. So I feel like you know, Baby Yoda slightly had an easier time in being the Force healer because it's like Baby Yoda being a Force healer. No, I feel like we're both good in that space, yeah. And he definitely has cuteness on me.
Oh my gosh, girl.
I'm sorry.
No, Louis.
Blonde hair.
I've just never seen a